Despite having played in only 194 games out of a possible 410, Zion Williamson has earned over $114 million from the NBA alone.
What did he say?
Zion has shown repeatedly to not take his rehab seriously, nor his diet. He's also had quite a few issues off the court that were clearly avoidable and a bad look for everyone involved. The New Orleans Pelicans gave him this money despite numerous and constant reports of lacking professionalism. But the start of this year looked so promising, and Zion looking in the best shape he had in years, maybe ever. Yet, as we sit in the middle of this NBA season, all reports are now pointing to the fact that he just doesn't want to be there. The last 3 years of his massive contract are no longer guaranteed. But here's the problem. It's too late.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Zion has already made generational wealth, and even if he never steps foot on an NBA court again, he will never have to work a day in his life. And this is where NBA guaranteed money backfires. Nowadays, if you don't have the internal motivation to sacrifice and be great, but you're still a high draft pick, it really doesn't matter. And it shows in every part of the NBA product. Zion was supposed to be the next face of the league. Now there's questions of if he can even stay in it. Let's talk. As the old saying goes in basketball, you can't teach size. And you also can't teach God-given freak of nature athleticism where you are bigger and stronger than everybody, but you can also somehow jump higher than everyone too. Since he was 15 years old, Zion Williamson stood at 6'3" and was taller and stronger than most of our dads. This clip says it all, doesn't it? My goodness, how can these two even be in the same age range or share the same basketball court? I think we can even say that for the rest of anyone who had to face Zion in high school. Like, my God, seeing that at the other end? Safe to say, Zion Williamson, from birth, had a very clear shot at the NBA. Much more so than even the average well-to-do kid with NBA parents, given that we hadn't seen an athlete like this since one LeBron James. But unlike LeBron James, some may say about Zion that because of his gifts and being so far advanced in his development, Zion actually never had to work and therefore never gained an appreciation for working at his craft. But anyhow, you can't teach 6'7", 280 with a 40-inch vert. So, as predicted, Zion was a one and done at Duke and was drafted by New Orleans with the first overall pick, which already guaranteed him $45 million as his first contract before he even stepped onto an NBA court. And that's not counting endorsements, which would have been plentiful given he was the number 1 draft pick and the most hyped draft pick since LeBron James. So Zion Williamson, a 19-year-old child, had already earned generational wealth before stepping foot onto an NBA floor. And when he stepped foot on the NBA floor, he dazzled and showed the absolute tantalizing potential that made New Orleans draft him with number 1. But the injuries that really shone their head already in Duke before he had played were much worse than initially thought. And in Zion's first 4 years in the league, he played in a total of 114 games out of a possible 332, with the entire 2021 and 22 season being missed. Sadly, at the same time, there were massive rumors of Zion being unhappy in New Orleans and wanting to force his way out. Then when the injury happened, the tables turned and it was like, oh well, will New Orleans re-sign him? Because there was a lot of questions about his professionalism as well. And a big indicator of that was his weight, which was starting to balloon. But despite that, New Orleans trusted and bet on their boy and re-signed him for 5 years and $193 million. So let's stop for a second. He's already made generational wealth. Now, despite not caring about his body, not taking care of it, and playing in equivalent of a quarter of games, you reward him with another $40 to $50 million a year. And on cue, it's only gotten much worse since. With the constant weight issues, off the court drama, still consistently being injured, and still somehow rumors of him wanting to force his way out, there has just been negative news after bad news when it comes to Zion Williamson. So much so that all the talking heads in sports media are losing their minds saying, why doesn't Zion care? How come he don't care? With the most recent, him being suspended by the team for being late to a flight and for constantly being late and showing lack of professionalism. But here's the answer. Why should he care? Zion Williamson has never had to care about losing the thing that matters most to all of us. Our money, our ability to live. Zion has been recruited since he was 15 years old, and to this day, despite all the yelling and screaming and hand-wringing by the media, the kid who is 25 years old and has only played in now less than a quarter of NBA games has made $114 million. The crazy part, despite playing only 10 games this year and finally receiving some stipulations in his contract making it no longer guaranteed, Zion Williamson will still most likely receive at least one more guaranteed contract. And so again I ask, why should he care? The only reason he would have ever cared is if his money was truly ever at threat. But when you're a league that's known for handing out guaranteed money, these types of issues are only going to get bigger and worse. However, the solution is simple. Guaranteed money is earned, and guaranteed money is not guaranteed for everybody. Plus, if a player cannot play upon a decided minimum, then they become like individual contractors and only get paid for the games in which they play. Simple. That way then, a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, if their top star who is constantly injured is also eating up their entire salary cap, they are literally hamstrung and cannot do anything. They are in between a rock and a hard place. At least this way, if they can get salary relief, they can at least pay players while their main star rehabs properly from an injury. And what's crazy is in the NBA today, it seems to be more and more normal that all of these players who are constantly injured are getting paid more and more money to sit at home or sit on the bench. The NBA is a league built on professionalism, but its top stars have to represent it as such. Otherwise, the message becomes diluted and the league loses credibility, which it already has. Let's make a change.